Okay, I'm here with David and Amanda. Amanda, can you tell us what is nominated for Best Drama Writing at the Emmys this year?
Okay, so we have Battle of the Bastards from Game of Thrones, their biggest episode. Episode 1.0, Hello Friend, basically the pilot of Mr. Robot. I'm not going to read off the crazy title. Persona non grata from The Americans, and The Good Wife, which is their biggest nomination. Uh, Episode 8 of Downton Abbey, which was that the season finale
No,
also?
it's the one before, actually.
Okay. It's their
Yeah.
penultimate episode. And then the first ever writing nomination for Lifetime with Return from Unreal, and that was their pilot.
Did you
So
mention The
I'd
Americans?
like to think that I've learned from my mistakes last year. I went with the season finale of Mad Men, and I just think I'm just going to go with Battle of the Bastards. It's in a popular vote. I just don't see how it can lose. It's just way when you shut down a website with one episode, I think that basically tells you everything you need to know. I would give a slight chance to Mr. Robot's pilot because it was really clever, but I don't have any confidence in picking it.
Yeah, Game of Thrones, they kind of swept last year. They won 12 Emmys, and I thought that we would see kind of the same thing happen at the Guild Awards since there is such a large voter overlap. And they did win a lot of awards, but I was surprised that they couldn't win with the Writers Guild. I feel like at the Emmys, now that you can campaign so actively, not only throughout nominating, but also through voting for the winners, that they all kind of get into this bubble where they're all getting, fed the same campaign materials, and, they're led to think that, like, Game of Thrones is the best, and you must vote for it, like, in whatever category you can.
Well, I think
And
it also, when you go away from like 80-person panels who have no affiliation with these series to everyone can vote, this episode just has so much momentum that it's going to be hard to take it down, even though there really isn't a lot of dialogue in it, since we do have this crazy war, basically.
yeah, I could see Mr. Robot upsetting just because, like, it did win Best New Series at the Writers Guild Award, and it's not nominated in a ton of categories. So the writers are really pushing the series. They're big fans of it, and this is the pilot, so it's a great way to show support for the series. I think it would easily win under the old tape system because Game of Thrones, it's too complicated and you can't just access it if you haven't seen the show before. But again, under the new system, Game of Thrones sweep.
Yeah, I agree. I was saying earlier, if Game of Thrones wasn't Game of Thrones, there's nothing about the episode in particular that would scream like this is the writing winner for the year. But to Amanda's point, it has the momentum. There's no opportunity of it to split votes with itself in the category. I just can't see it losing. But I think the two that you've called out, so Mr. Robot, I think could be a potential contender because I don't know where else it's going to win. It could win lead actor. Rami Malek could win. I'm kind of on the fence about if it's Rami or Kevin Spacey, but if
It's
he
not
doesn't
Kevin
win,
Spacey.
I don't know where else they would win. Like, this is probably their other best shot, and I feel like it's probably not going home empty-handed. So it maybe has a shot. And Downton Abbey, too, I'm always surprised at how much love Downton Abbey has at the Emmys. It's not the series finale, I was surprised to see that
Almost.
it wasn't the series finale, but almost. But I could see that winning, too. And this one was written by Julian Fellows, right?
He
Yeah,
writes all of them, I think.
yeah.
So
Oh, that's
I,
right.
I
Yeah,
went with
so,
Downton Abbey also. It's a past Emmy winner for writing in the mini series
yeah,
category, so that's why I have it in third.
yeah.
The others, I don't see them giving it to The Good Wife. There's no love for that show.
No, and the finale wasn't tremendously well received. I mean, some people really liked it. I really liked it. A lot of people hated it, and it doesn't stand a chance with it being a divisive episode.
Yeah, Downton Abbey and The Good Wife have not been nominated in years in this category. I mean, The Good Wife, the last time it was nominated was for its pilot. So it just goes to show, like, that the Emmys do get nostalgic to some extent, at least in the nominations. But yeah, I don't see them being competitive for the win.
Well, I think
I'm
they also
real.
know Julian Fellows writes most of their episodes, so that it might be just one last "we respect you so much" kind of a thing, because it's not like they're, even without the names, that they're not aware of some of these
Right.
situations.
Yeah, almost every year in this category, we see a show like Mad Men taking, 2, 3, 4 slots. This year we have 6 different shows, but I think that's mostly because they all played it so strategically. Like The Americans, Downton Abbey, Game of Thrones, The Good Wife, and Mr. Robot all submitted one episode. I can't remember about Unreal.
Game of
Um,
Thrones only submits one episode every year, unless George R. R. Martin writes one, because they're only eligible to submit one.
well, they can actually submit two, like one for each writer, like David Benioff and
Same two
D.B.
people
Weiss.
write the same episodes, though.
Yeah. The only other one that I could see like possibly winning other than Mr. Robot or Game of Thrones would be The Americans, just because like it is so beloved critically, and like I remember back when The Wire won the Writers Guild Award, and The Wire was a show that was critically acclaimed, but the Emmys, almost entirely ignored except for the writers. Now that we're in a popular vote system, maybe they'll, be able to push it through that way.
Maybe, I mean, it's grown in nomination, so it's not impossible. I think a show like Lifetime, I think a network like Lifetime just has to be really proud that they finally got their, not to disrespect the directing nominations they've received in the past, but this is the first time any of their programming has received a writing nomination. So this is a big deal for them, and they should be happy. It's a good show. But it's probably this year's kind of passion nomination. But it's, at least I will say, in the drama side, it's nice to see 6 different shows. It's very refreshing from the comedy side, even if my favorite International Assassin is not one of the 6.
Yeah, The Leftovers, and where's Horace and Pete too?
I know.
Yeah, episode 103 I thought could definitely make it in here.
The Laurie Metcalf
'Cause
episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And it had support in 2 other categories, so I was surprised to not see it here. It would have been a really great nominee.
It would have done better if it just wasn't on Louis C.K.'s website. I think if it had a network behind it.
Yeah.
Even as like this multi-cam drama show, it probably would have done better overall.
I admire the campaigning by Lifetime for Unreal, because Unreal is a show that didn't get any nominations from the Guild, unlike Mr. Robot. So I don't think it was on the industry radar, but then Lifetime sent out their DVDs way back in January to make sure that they were the very first, network that got any DVDs to voters, and it looks like it really paid off.
It did, and when you think about the fact that it kept something like House of Cards out of this category, it's a big deal, because House of Cards now appears a little weaker because it's missing. Yeah. So it should definitely, even if they don't win, they should be very proud of this nomination. It's my favorite. It's one of my favorite shows. It's my summer guilty pleasure, which proves why I shouldn't watch The Bachelor, because I get way too involved in that fake reality show. But it does kind of wink at Hollywood, and we've seen at the Oscars that can sometimes help. So maybe it's not as big of a long shot as we're thinking.
All right. Any final thoughts, David?
No, Game of Thrones.
Yeah, this is pretty boring. I will say, let this be a lesson to Better Call Saul, which was nominated last year. This year they submitted, I think, 9 episodes in both writing and directing. Yeah.
That's way too many. I think that any show should pay attention to these shows. Submit 1.
Yeah. Or at most, submit 6, since that's how many slots there are. Like, even if
I
a
don't
show
think
was...
6 is way too many. I think
Oh,
2.
it is, but I just mean, like, they would never get all 9 nominated.
Right.
That probably would have been like at Mad Men's peak. The destruction of that shows.